Is the bomb squad about to get defused? I'm Teekosey, and this is With Just 15 Defeats. I'm Teekosey, and welcome to another round of With Just 15 Defeats. We're here to discuss the WBC heavyweight title fight between Deontay Wilder and Alexander Povetkin. But before we move on to that, I just want to say thanks for clicking on this video. In a few moments, in the right hand corner, you're going to see a little icon pop up, and it's going to ask you to participate in a poll. Now all you need to do is you need to just click on it. There's no hard work there. You just click yes or no. There'll be just a question related to this show. So once you've done that, just sit back, relax, and just watch the show. And if you have any disagreements, or if you just want to let me know your predictions, just leave a comment below. It's as easy as that. So let's see how it goes. So Deontay Wilder, Alexander Povetkin, heavyweight title fight. So in the next couple of months, there's a lot of fights to look forward to in the heavyweight division. A lot of fights, a lot of interesting fights. Now, we've got Fury versus Fury versus Klitschko, the rematch. Don't know why I said that. We've also got Chisora versus Pulev. That's why I said it. We've got Parker versus Takam. We've got the Hay card, which includes Briggs. And we've also got a range of contenders, wannabe contenders, young guns coming through. And there's lots of these fights that are cropping up in the next couple of months. Now, in the description below, you're going to be able to find a list of the pre-videos that I've produced so far. So please go down below after this video and check them out, and there'll be a sprinkling of other videos cropping up as the weeks develop. But we've got those fights to look forward to, but for my money, the most important fight is Wilder versus Povetkin. Now people will say, sorry Teekosey, it's got to be Fury versus Klitschko. It's the important one, it's the rematch, it's the two main guys. It's revenge for Klitschko, all that business, right? But for me, that fight, just my initial views, it's going to be the end of an era, because either Klitschko is going to be retired, he's going to become irrelevant in the division, or Fury's achievements are going to almost disintegrate if he loses. So one of those guys is going to fall away big time. But this fight, Wilder versus Povetkin, this is for the number 2 position. Now, whilst people don't generally want to be number 2, this is for the number 1 position, and I think it's going to be the stepping stone to some more super fights down the road. So the winner of Klitschko and Fury could fight Povetkin Wilder, and that would be a super fight down the road, particularly if we get Fury versus Wilder. That would be a super fight all around the world, and that would be one of the most exciting matchups in the division that could be made. Okay, so as this video progresses, we're going to be talking about the two guys. We're going to talk about how I think the fight might go, and then we're going to wrap it up with some conclusions and the predictions and all that good stuff. So, if you don't know the two guys, I'm just going to set a bit of groundwork down for you. You got Deontay Wilder, 36-0, 35 KOs. So it's an absolutely phenomenal record for anyone, and he is the current holder of the WBC strap. Now, he's a big guy. 6'7", he's got a huge reach, he's big, he's rangy, he's athletic, he is exceptionally confident. Okay, he's got the perfect shape and size. he must be a promoter's wet dream. I mean, I don't know how he's portrayed in America because I'm not out there. But if you're out in America, let me know how he's portrayed, and how you think the comparison is to Anthony Joshua. Because Anthony Joshua, they are just building him, and Eddie Hearn is just loving it. He wakes up every day and he knows money's just going to be pouring out of his a-hole. Do you know what I mean? Like, and he just, because he knows every factor, the look, the KOs, everything's there. Is it with Deontay in America? Can you let me know? I'd really like to know an American's point of view on that. So going back to Deontay, he's been a champion for about a year, and he's an Olympic medalist, a bronze medalist. But despite that amateur pedigree, he's not your typical Olympian style fighter, and part of the reason for that is that from the time he began boxing to the time he became a professional, 3 years. 3 years. Now, we discussed timelines and where people are in their career when we were discussing the Hughie Fury preview the other week. Now, Deontay went from joining the gym, getting into boxing, to qualifying for the Olympics, getting a medal at the Olympics, then turning pro, all within 3 years. That's a very quick turnaround. A lot of people usually spend years perfecting their craft before they kind of make it, and then even once they've been to the Olympics, sometimes they spend quite a fair time continuing to perfect their craft until they think they're ready for the pro game. And obviously, we know how these pro guys, from turning pro to wherever, they spend years fighting nobodies and just learning fights to continue learning their craft. And obviously, Deontay's just gone in there, and he obviously had that natural ability, and they've thought he'll learn on the job. And the fact is, he's still learning on the job as a champion. All right. But in terms of Deontay's style, as I say, he's big, and he plays up to his natural attributes of being big, rangy, and athletic. And he's got a decent jab, a persistent jab, although it's fairly slow. But he's a patient fighter, and he looks for the opens. He pushes out the jab, and it creates the distance. And it can be incredibly difficult for some of his opponents to penetrate him because of the way that he keeps that distance. And it's an incredible weapon. Okay, and he mixes it up with a 1-2. That's one of his favourites, the 1-2, boom, and he does that on a fairly regular basis until he wears them down. And but he can mix up with he has a wide variety of shots. He's not a one-dimensional fighter by any means. He's got incredibly good movement, incredibly quick around the ring. He likes to work on the back foot and bring people in to hit them with the 1-2. So it's part of the way that he works the ring. He's a devastating finisher. Like, you would not have a 35 KO record if you weren't a devastating finisher. People would say, yeah, fighting bums, you're going to get these. But you look at some of the other guys that are up there, take out Joshua, other guys, they don't have this like 98% KO ratio. Even the top guys, they don't have it. Even when they've gone through, they have their learning fights. And they get the rounds. Deontay, he hasn't done that. He's not done that. He's just been sparking people out as he's kind of moved up and stepped up. And when he's on one, when he sees it opening, he goes for it. He goes wild, and those arms are swinging, and they're fairly accurate, but they are wild swinging. He wants to take that person's head off. It's pretty incredible, and it must be quite scary as an opponent when those arms come swinging. And it's possibly why he gets the he's got as many stoppages as he's had, right? So let's move over to the other side of the ring. Alexander Povetkin. He's also got a pretty good record. 30 wins, 1 defeat, 22 KOs. That 1 defeat was against Klitschko, right? So that tells you the picture of Povetkin. Povetkin's a very well respected heavyweight, very well respected, and he's just got that 1 defeat. We'll come on to that a little bit later, but he's going to be the smaller guy. He's 6'2", he's a stocky guy. He's going to have much shorter arms. Okay, and we're going to talk about that again. We'll continue talking about that in a short while. He's highly experienced, not just in the pro game, but in the amateur. He's also an Olympian gold medalist, I believe, back in 2004. But in the pro game, he's got a decent record. He's fought a wide range of guys, short, small. So he's kind of built up his own resume, and he's knocked out a fair amount, as I say, 22 of those KOs. But he's also gone around, so he's got that mix of skills and power. Okay, he's a very different fighter to Deontay. Very different fighter. Now I say he's shorter, but he kind of fights on his toes. He's very agile. He likes to jump into his punches, but he does like to keep close to his opponent. He's very accurate, and he's got a wide range of punches. He's not the most prolific of jabbers. He likes to get in close. He likes to look for the openings. He likes to hook and jab and hook and uppercut and try and wear down his opponent that way. And one thing he can do, he can take a punch. He can definitely. He's been chin checked. And he's a warrior. I mean, you look at him, and I don't want to be stereotypical, but like when you see these films, some Russian badass, some kind of gangster hitman, like there's death in this guy's eyes. He's a bad SOB. He's definitely a bad SOB. So that's what you can expect from those two guys. Now, I think, having watched these guys for a number of years, there's 2, maybe 3 fights that are going to tell the picture of how this fight really is going to go. Okay, that we can look at, and it can help us to predict how the fight's going to go. Now, the first one we can look at is Wilder when he won the title against Stavern. Now, this was the first and only time to date that Wilder has gone the full 12 rounds. Went the distance. He didn't manage to stop him. He's the only guy he hasn't been able to knock out. But Wilder completely controlled the fight. That's my point of view. I'm sure most people will agree with me on that. He controlled it from distance. The jab was working fantastically. He completely outpunched his opponent. He had Stavern in trouble on 4 or 5 times where he could have finished that fight. Right, he could have and probably should have been able to finish Stavern, and maybe that tells you how tough a fighter Stavern is, because he took punishment and he was in trouble. He was in trouble, and Wilder was swinging for the fences, and he was trying to stop them. He just couldn't. He just couldn't get it over the line, which was quite strange. But what that tells me is that you think a lot of these guys, when they see an opening and they go for it and they go crazy, they're trying to stop that guy. They're trying to take that guy's head off, and it just punches are swinging. They're wild. Wilder did not gas out. That's what we need to take from this fight. Everything else you can come up with all kinds of conclusions from this fight. Did not gas out. He went a full 12 rounds, and he was able to have these explosive attacks on 4 or 5 occasions where you thought he could be able to stop him, right? And he did not gas out. But not only that, he controlled almost every single round on the back foot, letting Stavern walk him down. But Stavern was only kind of attacking on rare occasions because he just could not close the distance. He could not close the distance because of the way that Wilder was controlling the distance with the way that he was moving around the ring, and the way that he was keeping Stiverne away from him with the jabs, the hooks, and the shots, the wide variety of shots. And to be honest, I think it's quite an impressive performance. Quite an impressive performance. Now, since that fight, he's fought he's defended the title 3 times, right? Okay, so he's defended the title against Eric Molina, Johan Duhaupas, and Artur Szpilka. Now, 3 tough guys. 3 tough guys. Now, yeah, they're not the best guys in the division, but they're not complete bums. They're tough guys. They are tough guys, and I think these 4 fights put Wilder in a good position to fight Povetkin. There were 3 tough guys. He stopped all 3 of those guys. The last 3 in the 3 defenses. The Johan Duhaupas. Check that one out, because yeah, Wilder dominated the fight. He dominated the fight. He won pretty much every single round. But Duhaupas, he was there, and he landed some good shots. He was pressing him. He was in his face, and Wilder took some damage. He had a big swollen eye, so he was receiving some damage there. But Wilder managed to control the fight and basically win it. And obviously, we know that he completely sparked out Szpilka. Now, moving across to the other fight, which is pretty much the third fight that's interesting. That gives us an idea of what's going to happen in this matchup. Okay, and that is the Klitschko fight, the Klitschko-Povetkin fight. Now, Povetkin, he lost it, and he was dominated for pretty much the whole of the fight. And Povetkin pressed forward, and he just tried to land big looping shots. But Vladimir Klitschko kept him at distance. Now, there was a lot of spoiling tactics, holding, grabbing, pushing, all that sort of business, a lot of bullshit. But for periods of time, Klitschko kept him at bay. He kept him far from him, and he kept the distance, and he was able to basically completely outbox him in between when he wasn't holding, grabbing and pushing and all that sort of business. Okay, so I think this fight and the Wilder-Stiverne fight, I think they've painted the picture of what's going to happen here. Is that we're going to see Povetkin trying to get in close and trying to land big shots, and we're going to see Wilder on the back foot trying to move around the ring, jabbing, controlling and keeping the distance. That's the kind of picture I think that we're going to see. Now, you could say that it's all about the size differential, and some people would say that Povetkin, he's knocked out big guys. He's dominated big guys. But the difference is that most of the bigger guys, these super heavyweight type guys that he's knocked out, they have been low quality opposition. They've been low quality opposition that they're not going to put much of a fight. They're getting knocked out for a reason. Do you know what I'm saying? So, in the last fight, Povetkin fought. What did he fight? He fought Whack. Okay, he fought Whack, and that got stopped in the last round. And Povetkin completely dominated the fight. He completely dominated the fight from the first second to the end. And the difference was that Whack, he did not play to his strengths. He's a big guy, and he was letting Povetkin get in close, rough him up, took so many body shots, and he just got beaten up. He literally, it's the only way you can describe it, he got beaten up. And the fact is, there's no way a guy that has huge arms is that tall. He should be playing to his strengths. He should be trying to keep Povetkin, and he didn't. Okay? That's the difference. Wilder will keep Povetkin at distance, or he will try to. That is going to be his game plan. It really is as simple as that. Now, that's how I see the fight going. I saw something where, oh yeah, I watched a video on YouTube of a fellow YouTuber where he was discussing. Well, he heard that Wilder had said that Povetkin wasn't his most toughest opponent. I think it was a guy called Heavyweight Boxing Fan. I'll probably put a link in the description if I remember when I put it online and link to the video, because it was actually a really good video discussing the points. And I'm not going to go into it, but I'm just going to say that Povetkin is Wilder's toughest opponent by far. He's better than that. Wilder's fought four okay guys, Stavern, Duapar, Spilka, Molina. They've all been tough SOBs, right? The rest of his opponents, they're lower level. Maybe Malik Scott, but we know about Malik Scott, right? So these tough guys, and he's beaten them up. He's outboxed them, and he's KO'd 3 of them, right? Povetkin is on a next level to these guys. We know Povetkin's one of the top guys. So it's a completely different situation. So that's it. My prediction is I think Wilder's going to win on points. I think Povetkin's going to be in the fight, no two ways about it. And it all depends on whether Wilder can get his game plan working to a T, right? If he can, then Povetkin, he's not gonna get any joy whatsoever. So I'm going with Wilder. Now, just going to round this up by getting the odds. Now, just checking the odds, and Deontay Wilder is 5-4, 5-4. Okay, whereas Povetkin is even. So there's nothing in it. 5-4 evens. It's almost the same. They're just edging towards Wilder. So it just shows you, we see all these fights, right? And I like to look at the odds. I like to see what the bookies are predicting, right? Because sometimes we see these cards, all these Eddie Hearn shows where it's like you've got your main man and then the opponent is like 80-1. Like, let's just quickly, just for comparison purposes, if I can find it, the Anthony Joshua, right? Anthony Joshua to beat Dominic Brazil is 1-50. 1-50. That is ridiculous. And Dominic Brazil is 14-1. So that's a swing of 64. Ridiculous. Whereas you've got this Wilder Povetkin fight. It's less than 1. It's a swing of less than 1. It's like 0.2 or however it works out. It's nothing. So it just shows you this is a legitimate matchup. Either guy can win. Both are brilliant top guys, but me, I'm going with Deontay for this one. And then we're just gonna have to see how that carves out the landscape of the division. So thanks for watching the video. Check out the poll, check out my other preview videos, and we'll see you in the next round.